What up, everybody? I'm your host, JP, and this is my co-host, Josh.
Hey, everybody.
And welcome back to another episode of the FilmBros podcast. Welcome back, you guys, and happy Thanksgiving to you guys out there at the FilmBros podcast community. From the FilmBros to you guys. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Hopefully you guys are going to be carving up some turkey, enjoying it with some people you can tolerate, fucking eat some stuffing, get those debating skills at the dinner table ready, right?
Yeah,
I thought you were with that girl last year. Yeah. Listen, Susan. It's just like,
ain't that your third kid where his dad at? No.
Something like that. I hope you guys are just having the time of your life. The conversation that we can probably, hope to bring to the table for you guys is one that we haven't talked about in a while, actually. Since maybe I looked into it. I think the last time we talked about this was about 6, 7, almost 8 months ago. Probably like the beginning of the year, towards the end of the last year, 2023.
Yeah.
It was a big problem.
Yeah.
Maybe a problem haunting us today. We don't know.
It could still be in the rise.
Yeah, it could be. What we're going to be discussing today, right? Really quick, though. Me personally, right? If I'm going to bring any kind of debate to the table, right? Ben Affleck's Batman is the best Batman.
Oh.
Say I'm wrong.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're going to get turkey being thrown at people once I say that. Everybody's going to be like, and then I'm going to follow it up with Zack Snyder is the GOAT at comic book movies.
Oh, it's mashed potatoes.
Yeah. All the Twitter is going to engulf.
Yeah, I know. Crazy stuff.
They're like, dang, on Thanksgiving. But yeah, today's conversation that we're going to bring to the table and hopefully get a little bit more clarification on it is superhero fatigue. Now, you guys are probably thinking, man, that's so 2023. Didn't we talk about this? Superhero fatigue has been downhill on the rise. Josh, I don't know if you recall the last time we spoke about this.
Last time we talked about this.
But back then, I think your thoughts on superhero fatigue was that it wasn't real.
Yeah, no.
It was something else. Can you elaborate?
Not that it was real, but that it's just the soullessness of the MCU and things like that. I can't fully remember the quote.
The 2023 term you used was conveyor belt
movies.
Yep,
the MCU has conveyor belt movies, yeah.
They were producing some conveyor belt movies. Mm-hmm. Possibly still got a couple in the chamber, right? We got Brave New World coming up, and we got, So this, maybe this is going to stem on a little bit further than 2023. Me personally, right? I know you were like, I think Syrian Geek Vibes as well. He shout out to him. He even said too that he thought it was mid-movie fatigue. Like, it's not even, it's not about superheroes. It's about, it's about the fact that, people are just tired of bad stories with the superhero genre.
The creatives are just dropping the ball.
We had the conversations with like Tarantino and Scorsese saying like, superhero movies are going to go out like the Westerns and the noirs and all that stuff. Yeah. And maybe that day might come. Maybe we're getting to a point where that's happening. Maybe because of social media, the superhero genre was allowed to live longer than those other different genres at the time, because of obviously if you at one part of the world you could be doing westerns, and then when you hear that somebody else is doing something new, you're gonna fall in that same lane. Nowadays with social media, everybody got their own niche. All right, everybody got a superhero movie that they like to watch. Yeah. Everybody got a thriller they like to watch. Everything is like you could be a part of your own little pocket when it comes down to movies.
Just about every movie has a fan base
at this point in time. So 2024 rolled around. Right, we talked about superhero fatigue. 2024 rolled around, and we got Venom 3 doing good. Right, Venom: The Last Dance actually making some numbers. But then right before that, we had Joker 2 that just completely bombed. Yeah, and then we had a movie called Madam Web that completely bombed. But this year we had Deadpool and Wolverine that did really good. Like I said, Venom 3 did really good. Not a lot of superhero movies this year, not in 2024, not a lot. No. We had a couple. If you notice from 2023, you see this lineup of just superhero films. You have the Marvels that we watched, Aquaman 2, Blue Beetle, Shazam, Guardians, Quantumania. Like, I'm not just going for MCU. I'm talking about the superhero genre. If you're talking about other films that are superhero, but not at the same time any Marvel or DC, I mean, you had TMNT, Avengers, Legos. You had Paw Patrol. That's another like superhero dog show for kids. And this year, I mean, you had a couple: Madam Web, Deadpool, Wolverine. Crisis on Infinite Earths, but not really too. Hellboy,
Transformers 1.
Transformers. Is that a superhero?
I would count it as a superhero movie.
So that's like that we had movies like that come out, but it's not as big as this roster as you could tell. It's shrunken incredibly small compared to what happened in 2023. Do we think that was because of what happened in 2023 with all the articles coming out talking about superhero fatigue, superhero fatigue, superhero fatigue?
No, I don't think so. Every movie that was slated to come out this year was just pushed back to 25 because of the whole SAG strike. I don't know. I don't think it has anything to do with these articles, even though the Variety one was kind of brutal. The one that we did end up talking about, that Variety article did lay into the MCU quite a bit. So, I mean, I'm sure it kind of played a part.
That article called back to it. It was like superhero fatigue. We're looking at you, MCU.
Yeah, blamed Marvel, blamed Kevin. And they were looking for Fantastic Four to be their savior. They were looking for the Fantastic Four to be their savior. Which, I mean, it's not... At the time, it didn't sound too silly. But, I mean, that was announced back in, like, 2021. And we're getting it almost 5 years later. So, hit or miss, really. But maybe the article scared the MCU enough. That's the only one I could see being like affected by that article.
Yeah,
just because it just hammered in their fault,
Yeah, and a lot of people even said too, like, wow, the trades are even like at one point they wouldn't even dare to touch Marvel. Marvel was the juggernaut; it was the king, right? Phase 1
potentially pay people off.
Yeah, Phase 1 kind of bumpy. Phase 2, actually, Phase 1 was actually pretty solid. I think Phase 2 it had that growing pain, so it kind of lost some people. But at the same time, it was rocky, but you still had those hits. Phase 3 is where it peaked, and then we had Phase 4, and now we're at Phase 5. So
unfortunately, Phase 4.
Yeah, so we have a few things to discuss, and we got a treat. Okay, so not only are we going to discuss superhero fatigue, but we're going to react to a video by a YouTuber named Mr. Headcanon. And his argument is that superhero fatigue does not exist.
Okay.
That's his opinion. That's what he titles the video. So a good little 11-minute. We'll take little brief pauses to talk about whatever he's bringing to the table, so we can kind of get our opinions when it comes down to it. But if you look down at the comments as well, I mean, a lot of people are right with you. And this video came out like about a month ago. So, I mean, if you guys want to go watch it, check it out too. Support him as well, Mr. Headcanon on YouTube. But even, people are tired of superhero. People aren't tired of superheroes. They're tired of bad mid superheroes. I have bad storytelling fatigue. That's about it. This guy says it's like saying that people are tired of good storytelling. They are just arrogant to admit that they are wrong. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, okay, my stance hasn't changed, but obviously, if there's things that I disagree with, I have no problem being like I disagree with that. But my big thing is, it is blatant to me for the moment. That comment seems blatant, like, oh, you're just a snob, like those people that won't take the criticism because they're just look at you like, oh, you're taking it too seriously. You're like, looking into a superhero film. Yeah, you're looking for a superhero movie to be the next Taxi Driver. Like, no, dude, no. But I do expect it to be good.
I mean, you do though, right? The Dark Knight. You remember in 2008 when the Dark Knight came
you
out?
Get good ones. I'm not like, but that's what I mean. I don't think that one is anything close to Taxi Driver. You know what I'm saying? Like I think the superhero genre has their own levels to their shit, because once you start taking them out of the box, that's when you get into Scorsese level thinking. You're like, this movie isn't as sophisticated as The Dark Knight or whatever, so on and so forth.
No, but yeah, superhero movies can have great storytelling behind it, and they could just be dumb fun movies. Like, they have that wide range of appeal that you could do. So yeah, every single movie has its own caliber, but it's like, there's the ones that rise to the top that are great. Yeah. It's like The Dark Knight.
That's right. They have their own rankings.
Infinity War. Marvel has multiple movies that are going to make it to the top. Civil War, Infinity War, Endgame, Avengers. The first Avenger. I mean, I know a lot of people say TV show. It looks like a TV show now, but I mean, it's still always going to be forever the movie that changed the game.
But that's what I mean. Like within their own ranks, their own ranking system, I'm sure, that'll rise to the top. But it's very rare when a superhero movie can go up against something like, I don't know, like what's an instant classic, like Goodfellas or something,
Logan.
Okay, I'll give you Logan.
Logan rivals. That's what I'm saying. Like a good caliber director can give you something great. That's that's what I think I love about the superhero genre and why it won't go out like the westerns. Because like the westerns, you're set in a certain place. You know what I mean? In the superhero genre, I mean, you can have a superhero that's like a cowboy. Straight to the hip type
you can
shit.
Take these characters and like turn them to fit the story.
Yeah.
I mean, Logan is the best example, but I mean, you could make Deadpool a western. You could totally put him in, have him like, I don't know, time travel or something. Like it's not. That's what I mean. For those ones,
we saw a buddy cop movie with Deadpool, Wolverine.
Yeah, and they just jumped through the multiverse. So it's like it's not unheard of to like put these characters into funny scenarios and watch how they play out. But a lot of them that the MCU has pumped out have kind of fallen on their face too. So
that is true. Yeah, but I mean, we could start cracking into the video, so we can start listening to his argument, see where we kind of stand on it. The beginning part, he breaks it up into 3 parts. First part is obviously just like superhero fatigue, box office, and all that stuff. The second part goes to pop culture, all that, and then by the third part, it's the it kind of breaks down to 3 parts in this video. We have the box office bombs. Basically, he's going to talk about all that stuff, the pop culture aspect of it, and that basically superhero films are the fatigue or saturation. That's basically the way that he puts it, fatigue or saturation. Obviously, we do have a good bit of slews, which I have a lot written down, and I showed you a couple pages, but I have a couple pages on here as well that kind of shows you stuff. Not only do we have like superhero movies within Marvel, DC, but we also have those spin-offs, right, of just like random superhero films that different different companies make, and then you have the TV shows, right? We got The Boys and all that stuff. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to break it all down, but let's jump into this video so we can at least start collecting some thoughts.
Superhero fatigue is the biggest problem threatening the genre and potentially bringing down Marvel and DC because people are tired of superheroes. Or at least that's what Forbes, The Hollywood Reporter, The New York Times, Variety, The Guardian, and all the major media outlets in the US are saying.
According to these sites, superhero fatigue caused the recent box office bombs like The Flash and Madame Web. This is what made Marvel movies no longer massive pop culture events and is the reason why casual viewers and fans feel exhausted. People are burnt out on the genre.
But all of this is a lie. Superhero fatigue doesn't exist, and today in Mr. Headcanon, we're gonna prove it. We'll break down these 3 arguments, and we'll...
Alright, real quick, right there, off top.
Okay.
What'd you think about his thoughts in the beginning there? Which, if you think about it, he says the box office bombs, and he says that a lot of people blame it on superhero fatigue, but it does not exist. It does not exist, right? That's his position.
Oh, yeah, so, like I said,
he lists a few bombs.
He did list quite a few bombs. I do think that it doesn't exist, but the ones that just weren't good, I still stand by that. They just failed to tell a good story with their characters. And as for the articles, I think I think that just became the trend. Once the MCU started declining, that's when everyone was like taking these weird shots against the MCU and stuff.
Here's a weird one, and we'll probably get into it a little bit more later, but he did kind of show a clip of Joker 2, right?
Yeah.
And so we had people like, what was his name, Tarantino. He came out and praised it, said that Todd Phillips basically gave the middle finger to not only the studios but the audiences as well.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, you don't want to give the middle finger to the people that you're taking money from, but at the same time, you gotta appreciate the meta-ness from it, right? I guess I haven't personally seen the film. You have.
Yeah.
You walked out saying it was great. You're on the opposite of that.
It was really good.
You're actually in the minority saying that the Joker 2 was actually pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
But it failed in the box office.
It did.
I mean, what could have... I mean, if it's not fatigue, what is that? If it's an original story that, you know, even directors praise and say, hey, this is actually pretty good. You guys just don't get it.
I think a lot of these movies that are going to end up being case by case. Joker 2's case, to me, was a big mixture of things. People were expecting something different from Joker 2 that Todd Phillips chose not to deliver, but instead he gave something completely different. And it's, in my personal opinion, either A, you didn't get it, 2, you don't like musicals, so you're just throwing the whole thing into the can, or 3, shit. Yeah, no, it probably just wasn't what you expected.
It's just crazy. We live in a world where Joker 2 flunks, but Venom 3: The Last Dance makes
it's crazy shit.
Yeah. So I mean, quick stop, but let's get into it.
Today in Mr. Headcanon, we're going to prove it. We'll break down these 3 arguments, and we'll also explain why these media outlets have been talking about fatigue since 2003, before Marvel and DC even thought about creating cinematic universes.
I did not know that.
The first argument is that fatigue caused poor box office numbers. Supposedly Madame Web, Quantumania, The Flash, The Marvels, and now Joker 2 failed because of fatigue. When they put it like that, it sounds convincing, because Quantumania made less money than the previous 2 Ant-Man movies. Joker 2 made less than half the money the first movie made in its opening weekend, and The Marvels made 82% less money than Captain Marvel. It also doesn't make sense that The Flash lost money. It was a multiverse crossover packed with cameos, just like Deadpool and Wolverine. The only explanation is that people are tired of superheroes, right? But fatigue has nothing to do with these movies flopping. People didn't like Quantumania. Captain Marvel only performed well because Marvel sold it as a teaser for Endgame. The Flash was part of a dead universe and starred a criminal. Joker 2 is a musical, had terrible reviews, and people hated it. And not even Sydney Sweeney dressed as a schoolgirl could save Madame Web.
It's Webbin time.
If people were tired of superheroes, how could X-Men 97 be such a hit on Disney+? How could No Way Home make $1.9 billion in 2021? How do you explain Deadpool and Wolverine crossing $1.3 billion, making it the second highest grossing movie of the year? It's now the highest grossing R-rated movie of all time, and made more than any X-Men movie produced by Fox. The first teaser was the most watched trailer in history. And there's more. The first episode of The Penguin had 5.3 million viewers in its first 4 days in the US alone, beating The Last of Us, Succession, and doubling the numbers of The Rings of Power. And if that's not enough, Across the Spider-Verse was the most profitable movie of last year, according to Deadline, beating blockbusters like Oppenheimer and Barbie.
Wow.
It's plain stupid to use The Marvels or Joker 2 as an example of superhero fatigue. That's like saying people were tired of superheroes in 2004, and that's why Catwoman was a huge failure. That movie flopped because it was hot garbage.
The state of the genre had nothing to do with it. This argument would only make sense if the real blockbusters had bombed at the box office. If No Way Home had lost money, or if Deadpool and Wolverine hadn't crossed $1 billion, then we could say people don't want to go to the movies to watch superhero films. But that's not what's happening. The genre's numbers are still super strong, as long as the projects are good.
Is that clear?
The second argument is that...
So, really quick.
Yeah.
I already know what you're going to say.
Okay.
Right? Probably, maybe, I don't know. Maybe you don't agree with him. I don't know what. This is how I'm gonna do it too. I'm gonna have like the turkey leg in my hand and be like, I already know what you're gonna say, man. So first of all, he brought up examples like Deadpool and Wolverine, okay, right? And then he brought up another example of like The Flash.
Yeah.
He said The Flash shouldn't have bombed because it was packed full of cameos. And he compared Deadpool and Wolverine just like The Flash. That it's basically the same thing. Cameos, whatever. Nostalgia. He said, explained it to me. How the fuck was it No Way Home able to make so much money? How the fuck was Deadpool and Wolverine able to make so much money? How much, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Nostalgia. It's not because the movies were good. Let me tell you something. We have reviews out right now for Deadpool and Wolverine and all that stuff. But let me tell you something. The story wasn't good, but people still ate that shit up. Because you want to know why? Because people only care about spectacle nowadays. It's not about the superhero genres falling. It's how much spectacle can you pull out of the audience. And, to be honest, how much higher could you go? I mean, if we're using Marvel as a reference, I mean, you guys are like, well, DC hasn't even moved. Well, yeah, that's a separate issue on its own.
Yeah.
But let me just tell you, the movies that came out last year for it did not help what's going to be coming out pretty soon, you know, with James Gunn at the helm and all that stuff. You know, Aquaman 2 bombing last year, Shazam 2, The Flash, Blue Beetle. Like, I mean, it's not... I mean, Black Adam 2 kind of bombed as well, if we're going all the way back to 2022. I mean, there was, like, a few movies that bombed at DC that it's not going to be helping. But at least over there at the Marvel side, how much higher could you actually go when it came down to Marvel reaching the heights of, like, Infinity War and Endgame? If they would have done it right, they would have introduce a new big bad in a natural way, but they kind of derailed it to the point that it's kind of hard to teeter it back without breaking everything completely, because they just introduced so much rules and everything. So I don't think it's ever going to reach the heights that it did, unless Secret Wars comes out, which nostalgia is going to play a factor. You're going to see all the old characters that you used to like. You're going to see a lot of people, you know, people that you missed that you want to see what they're up to. People are going to go back to buy for that. It's not it's nostalgia. They're trying to beat superhero fatigue with nostalgia, in my opinion. Because I do think superhero fatigue exists. So I'm going to be arguing for the side of superhero fatigue.
I do think pitting the last few DC movies again. Okay, because he did say a lot, but pitting the last DC movies with the MCU movies and the articles that the tabloids that chose to run with the fatigue.
Let's be honest, they weren't talking about DC.
Well, no, but you know what I mean. That they were using those ones to, you know, draw the argument and stuff. But I mean, how can you lose a race that you never really started? But that's what I mean. So these articles are gonna choose the bad ones, which is kind of in bad faith. Like if you've seen all the ones that he named off, you know why they're bad. You know why they suck. The Flash, I don't agree with the criminal part, but it did have a lot of problems outside of that.
Yeah.
The Madam Web. I'm pretty sure Madam Web was something different. We can agree there. That was meant to be something different. They cooked it up last minute
and everything changed.
Yep,
it up.
they nuked it. Same thing with Morbius.
Literally like leaks of a different story.
Yeah,
and all that stuff. Yeah.
The same thing happened to Morbius. Like these movies could be good if they just stop sabotaging themselves. Like I'm sure there's another timeline where the Flash just did very good for some reason, and it looked very good.
Because it's part of the Snyderverse.
Yeah, maybe or maybe the first dude got his dream.
I'm jealous of a multiversal me because he's probably enjoying Justice League Part 2 right now.
I'm saying Justice League Part 3, like
shit.
But I think doing those things is kind of the way for tabloids to just pick and choose. But there's a good narrative behind each and every one of them and why they flopped the way they did. It's very rare when you see a movie flop and it not be because of outside like interference nowadays.
That's true. Because Twitter does have a hold on the public, and I think public appeal does play a factor. I do think that Ezra Miller thing did play a factor in the box office as well.
Yeah,
I think a few people just couldn't get over it, and they're just like, "Oh, I'm not gonna watch this movie with this guy in there."
Even though
the Marvels, Captain Marvel with Brie Larson, a lot of people,
that one, a fluke, like he said. I do agree with that.
Even
though I liked it,
kind of branching still with the superhero genre. Shazam 2, Zachary Levi. I mean,
he's crashing out.
Yeah, if he wouldn't have crashed out that way and remained humble and didn't act like an asshole talking about the Snyder what the Justice League, it doesn't exist. Yeah, no, fuck you, dude. What the fuck? We're in the future now, and look what happened. You look dumb on that stage.
The Penguin is a little different. I'm kind of in the middle of it. Not bad. If you really want to check it out, it's not bad.
Well, I'm gonna watch it. Yeah.
Okay, so it is pretty good. Episode 1 does really pull you in kind of hard, but no one showed up for the Batman Part 1 really. And yeah, you can blame COVID and stuff, which I mean I'll give you a pass, I guess. But will they show up for Batman 2?
Well, I mean it still made $800 million.
Yeah, but
I mean,
if you're not a Big Billy, people nowadays, not to me, I don't really give a fuck. But if you're not Big Billy, you're a flop to the public's eyes.
Look, yeah, and Disney did that. Disney really fucked people up because for 3 or 4 years straight, they were crowned champion when it came down to like the box office. They were cracking $1 billion at least once a year for 4 years straight. And I think at one point, I think it was 1 year where like 4 of their movies just hit $1 billion off rip. Like it just happened. So I mean, yeah, maybe it's a standard now because once you unlock that door, you can't relock it up. Like people are gonna be like, well, it didn't hit $1 billion.
This has to be the next big thing.
And you gotta think like, it's like I said, not a superhero movie, but James Cameron's Avatar. Like Avatar. Obviously, the first one came out many years ago. Second one comes out, what happens? He
He
shits on everybody.
Yeah.
He shits on the whole superhero genre. It's like, look what I put out a movie once every 20 years. I don't give a fuck. It's like, so I mean, I kind of understand the DC side. Marvel, if we're kind of being, that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like most of this conversation kind of goes towards Marvel. It doesn't start branching out past Marvel until you start factoring in those TV shows, The Penguin, The Boys, Invincible, like all these shows, all these other superhero ones that kind of saturate the market, which he'll kind of break down a little bit more. But going just straight to box office, because even like Venom 3, and you know, we read it, we kind of talked about an article where like people are going to escape the politics there. It's like, the fuck,
it's
guys.
Crazy. That shit's crazy. I think Marvel's whole thing at its height, people were there for not only pretty good superhero movies, but the interconnectedness. Everyone was showing up and showing out for the next one because they wanted to see how it connected, how these characters got along, and when we'll see them again. And I mean, each character in that fucking thing, the ones that started it anyway, all have a trilogy, except for Black Widow and Hawkeye. But and now is Captain Marvel getting a sequel, a third one? Probably not.
And he brought up Quantumania.
He did, which isn't fair.
You got to understand too that the quality of film went down with every single movie.
Yeah, this is the whole conveyor belt stuff that I'm talking about. Phase 4 got too big, and the interconnectedness started falling apart almost immediately.
Well, I think we talked about, or no, I think you talked about like CGI kind of starting to poke up in Phase 3, but that's when all that unstability started happening too, right? I mean, Ant-Man and the Wasp, let's be honest, that one only made it because it was the fucking prelude.
Same thing with
Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel.
Yeah, they were just preludes. So, but still, they were still kind of wobbly. People were still kind of scrutinizing it, looking at it at a bad light, and all that stuff. And then Infinity War rolls around, people forget about it. But then Endgame comes out, and then it's like, oh, this is so cool, yeah. And then Brie Larson just kind of comes in, fucks up everybody, doesn't do their job, and then people have a problem with it. Still.
And the crazy part is, like, if you liked these 3 Ant-Man movies or the first 2 Ant-Man movies, maybe they're the same case as Venom. Silly movies that don't really take themselves seriously, and like the Ant-Man movies have the benefit of being connected to the larger universe. So you're gonna watch the third one, whether it be good or bad, because you want to see what happens to this character and where he ends up.
When word of mouth goes out saying that it's not good.
Yeah, but that's what I'm getting to. Yeah. But you get movies like Venom that doesn't even have a cinematic universe behind it and can be goofy and silly, and the third one be make way more than the third Ant-Man movie that's in a whole universe.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to think about that when you really like scale it back.
People's tastes are just weird in my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But for the most part, just to get back on track a bit.
Box office bombs. I mean, we did have a few bombs.
The MC. It's easy to look at Phase 4. The decline last year was very much MCU versus DC. Like, who's shitting the bed worse? And both actively shit the bed.
Oh, did DC shit the bed? Let me tell you, Marvel shit the bed for sure. But DC, it was like, it was shitting the bed and didn't even know it was shitting the bed. Like, it was trying to act like, oh yeah, no, we're good, guys. And
our sheets are clean.
Yeah, no, it's not. It was not clean. But yeah, so, I mean, box office wise, obviously there was a lot of misses this year. I think one of the good ones that did really well was Volume 3, right, last year?
Yeah.
This year, a little, hit and miss still, right? Venom Web flop, but then you got Deadpool and Wolverine that did really good, and then you have fucking Joker 2 that flops, but then you got Venom 3 that did really good. So it just depends, I'm guessing, to what people are really feeling. And like I said, bad word of mouth, I think that really affected Joker too. So that got to be a different conversation in itself. But
yeah,
all right, Marvel's downfall. Let's go.
That Marvel movies are no longer the biggest events in pop culture because casual audiences have turned their backs on superheroes. Maybe the most loyal fans still show up, but it seems like your cousin is more interested in watching Barbie, Inside Out, Avatar, or the latest video game adaptations, which are finally getting good. She's not as hooked on Marvel like she was when Infinity War and Endgame came out. Back then, everyone and their moms were talking about superheroes. But was it really that way? Let's look at the numbers. According to the internet, Marvel's Phase 3 was the peak of superhero cinema. This phase
phase started in 2016 and ended in 2019, and had 11 movies that made a total of $13 billion. In technical terms, that's a gazillion dollars. The numbers between each movie vary because Endgame made $2.7 billion, and Ant-Man and the Wasp made $622 million. But if you're willing to dive into the world of mathematics with me, you'll see that the average revenue for Phase 3 movies was $1.2 billion per project. This is completely nuts. No movie franchise had ever reached those numbers. In the span of 4 years, the MCU made more than Star Wars in its entire history.
There were no Marvel releases in 2020 because of the pandemic, and in 2021, the multiverse saga began. So far, this new saga has had 11 movies in total, the same number as Phase 3, so it makes sense to compare them. The combined box office for the multiverse saga is $8.5 billion, giving us an average of $770 million per project. That's a little more than half of Phase 3's average. For any other franchise, these wouldn't be bad numbers, but the box office did drop significantly compared to Phase 3. That means people aren't flocking to theaters like before because of superhero fatigue.
Well, nope, that's not the case.
We need to remember that 3 of these 11 projects were released during the pandemic, with half the theaters closed, so obviously the box office numbers would be lower. Also, the reception of these movies wasn't as good as Phase 3. Love and Thunder was a bad joke. Wakanda Forever didn't have its lead actor. People didn't like Quantumania, and no one wanted to see the Marvels. On top of that, we have the rise of streaming. Also, Marvel didn't release any Avengers movie in this saga, and their 2 most important characters are retired. It was expected they would make less money than in Phase 3, and it also makes sense that the new movies aren't huge events, except for No Way Home and Deadpool and Wolverine. And I know what you're thinking. Guardians 3 is the best movie of the trilogy by far, but it made a bit less money than Guardians 2, even though everyone knows the third movie is better. If Guardians 3 had come out in 2019, it probably would have crossed $1 billion. And we can't ignore that Marvel didn't have any flops in Phase 3, but they've already had 5 in the multiverse saga.
It must be because of fatigue, right?
Hate to sound like a broken record, but nope, that's not the case. It was impossible for superheroes to maintain their 2019 popularity forever, because the genre works just like the Super Bowl. What? Every February, everyone in the US talks about football. The fan who watches several games a day, the one who goes to the stadium every week, the one who only follows their team, and even the people who aren't really interested in the sport, but want to see the halftime show, which is one of the biggest entertainment events in the world. This makes the Super Bowl break viewership records every year. This year's final reached 123.7 million viewers, which is insane for a local competition. But the next day, the ratings for the games dropped sharply. The people who weren't really into football went back to their normal lives, and they won't watch another game until the 2025 final. The ones who remain are the usual fans, the ones who always watch football. This happens every year. It would be ridiculous to say that football is in decline now because fewer people are watching the games than during the Super Bowl. Because
I don't agree with that. I understand what he's trying to do, but not every movie needs to be the Super Bowl. Every movie just needs to be, I guess, like a playoff, if we're going off that logic, you know? Like, it has to be good. It has to want you to tune in. And Phase 3, that's what that was like. Phase 2, I really like Phase 2. I know it gets a lot of shit because people call those movies, like, boring and stuff. But I think Phase 3, if we're really looking at its peak, that's probably where it peaked. I would say that, yeah, there's a big difference between 3 and 4. And again, just because of what I said earlier, it's like you wanted to see where these characters were going. You were there to see the connectiveness. You knew it was leading up to another Avengers film. And yeah, Phase 4 hasn't had an Avengers film. Because they're rehashing, not only were they rehashing like Black Widow for some reason, which again, I think that one should have happened way sooner. Yeah. But now you got to introduce characters because your old Avengers are gone. Shang-Chi didn't work out. Ant-Man was a joke. The Marvels, I wish it would have been better. As it lies, it sucked. Like, no one wants to see these movies because we know that they're going to be bad, not because of fatigue. I only got tired when I was like, this is going to be bad, isn't it? Like, that was when I started, I guess, feeling fatigue. But it's not because of fatigue. It's because, hey, this movie's fucking ass. Like, this is the 4th MCU movie, and it's bad? Are you kidding me? Like, that's the way I see it.
See, and this is what I mean. Is like, he keeps bringing up Marvel. It's Marvel. So, I mean, if we're really just having a conversation about Marvel, the reason why people are tired is because it's homework. It's homework. They say you don't have to watch anything to keep up.
I can give you that, yeah.
You do. You have to keep watching it, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, And
And
yeah,
you're spanning shows now
kind of
too.
like how he said, it's kind of true about the whole superhero thing or Super Bowl thing, because it's like, yeah, the casual viewers are gonna come back and watch. You know, there's that one person who has not missed a piece of Marvel since its conception back in 2008.
Yeah.
And they love that shit, and they're gonna eat up every piece, and they're gonna, like you said, the Marvel's got shooters. Yeah, well, I didn't even know that either. Like, why would you even expect that ever? Right? But yet, here we are. They're still falling. Like, not even the die-hard ones that are like, no, actually, this is actually a really good thing. Like, people want event films, yeah, that weren't Avengers films. No Way Home, Deadpool and Wolverine. But why did they draw people in? Because of nostalgia. I don't want to sound like a broken record, Mr. Headcanon. Because of nostalgia. And that's the only reason why they went in. Black Widow didn't do good. And I know what you're thinking. Yeah, pandemic. I understand. That one was, you can go to theaters, and it was for streaming. The streaming numbers should have done crazy. Like,
I saw Black Widow in theaters.
Yeah.
Saw it twice.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, see, that's what I'm saying. So if you really wanted to, and I can't really make it a fair like fight because one came out during the pandemic and one didn't. But I mean, you had movies like FNAF that fucking was streaming and went to the theaters.
Yeah.
And people watched it. And you're over here struggling to get people to go watch Thor Ragnarok. Not Ragnarok. Thor Love and Thunder.
Love and Thunder.
Yeah. Why is that? Like,
it's because it's bad.
Because it's bad. There's no nostalgia to it. There's no connectivity.
I don't know about the nostalgia part.
I'm telling. I mean, if you think about the ones that are doing really good that he keeps bringing up, it's all the ones that are filled up with old characters that are being brought back in order to sell the ticket. What other? I mean, he brought up Volume 3, that it was one of the best of the MCU's by far. Which, don't get me wrong, if you think about it, past Phase 3. I mean, you had No Way Home, which was good. And then after that, it was a dry spell.
Yeah.
And then you had Volume 3. That's about it. Like, I mean, I personally don't like the Guardians movies, but I can even admit it was a decent movie. A lot of pulling at your heartstring with animals. I don't like that being used as, like, as a tool.
Okay, well,
but, yeah.
I mean, my opinion on Guardians 3 hasn't changed. I do think the first one is still the best.
I mean, think out of all the movies in Phase 4, which one would you watch, realistically?
Well, out of like all of them in Phase 4, not just the flops, right?
Okay, let me think. Because you could be like, well, yeah, Shang-Chi or whatever.
Because that's where my mind went. I was like, if I had to pick one,
you would say Shang-Chi and all that. I'm thinking past No Way Home. Because it was a flop.
Wakanda Forever.
Until No Way Home came out.
Wakanda Forever. Doctor Strange 2.
You would rather watch those over Volume 3? Yeah, no. I mean, yeah, sure. America Chavez?
No, Doctor Strange and Wanda. She's a character in there. She's a plot device, but Wanda? I mean, I'm not going there for her. I'm going there for Wanda and Strange.
You going there for
Wanda? I like Benedict Cumberbatch's.
Me too.
Doctor Strange, Sam Raimi. Like, that one has enough factors for me to be like, oh yeah, I prefer this way more than I prefer James Gunn's Guardians 3.
Okay, all right, that's fair.
Wakanda Forever. I don't know why. Not just because it looks very pretty, but I kind of like where they went with it. You know, for Sherry. I know she's not gonna stay in the world long, but I do give him that one. That because that one ended up doing pretty good, right? I can't remember how good it did. Wakanda Forever.
That one did.
I want to say it did very well. I can't remember though. But if it ended up falling short, I would say yeah, he's right about the whole like no Chadwick. But again, you would want to see it because it was big. It was a big memory thing for Chadwick. Is what they were writing with. Which I mean, I don't know if I agree with either. It being your selling point,
Yeah.
So.
All right, box office. They only made. Oh, the global was almost 900 million. They were shy, 859 million.
Oh damn, It's not bad.
So I mean, it made like Batman numbers, Part 1.
Oh yeah, the Batman. Yeah, so I mean, you can attribute to all these things, but I think Phase 4 did have kind of flops.
I think that one did good because a lot of people, that one had that Paul Walker effect, like what they were gonna do with the movie.
Yeah, which I mean, again, I don't agree that that's your whole selling point, but I did enjoy what they tried to do.
Yeah. So
Phase 4 had a lot of shows,
but
this is where they were stretching it out.
Mm-hmm.
So I do like their shows.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're looking at their TV shows, you're not getting. I didn't feel fatigued there. I was enjoying almost every show that they pumped out around that time.
Mm-hmm. And if we're going to like pop culture effect, like how he kind of said, like, you know, obviously pop culture is a big thing. That's why people buy Star Wars stuff and all that, because they're gonna go back and be like, oh yeah, let me look into it. So obviously we talked about it already. DC, non-existent, right? Okay. They started the fucking race with their shoelaces tied and just tripped up since the beginning. MCU peaked at Phase 3. You said that as well. But then you also have the other stuff, right? Like, you know, The Boys.
All these
that's now
shows.
A pop culture kind of thing. You got Invincible, which is another one. Umbrella Academy. People like that shit too. All these different ones. I mean, he also brought up X-Men 97 being like a hit. Yeah. But you got to understand too, it had a previous show. They're bringing it back. You got young and old audiences coming back to watch it because obviously they want to see what happened, and the new audiences are like, "What is this X-Men? We haven't had that in a while."
Yeah.
I mean, pop culture plays a big part in this, and then the fact that the MCU and superhero genre in general is struggling, I don't understand it. I don't understand it. But I think all movies are struggling too. But at the same time, I mean, like I said, if we're only talking strictly MCU, they had a harder hit than anybody else. Because like how you said, how do you even cry about being knocked out of a race you didn't start? And then, you know, MCU, obviously, you hit your peak. And then you're always going to be like, man.
Trying to recapture it.
Yeah, I want to get that high. You're going to be like Eminem making albums.
Crazy.
Crazy. Houdini.
Crazy, because I still like some of his songs. So it's like the same way I feel about the MCU movies. Like,
oh, yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, you know, it's kind of like
even
at the MCU, you could pick nice things that you liked out of said movies, but you can't say the whole movie like itself is a great movie. Like out of all Phase 4.
Oh yeah, through Phase 4, that's where they started becoming conveyed about movies.
Even with like Shazam 2 and everything, like there were scenes where like you liked, but you just don't like the whole movie.
It just didn't. They didn't follow it up. I mean, nice idea, but no follow through. Mm-hmm. Which I mean that goes for just about every other movie. But that's what I'm saying. Phase 4 ended up becoming conveyor belt movies. You know, because that's where they started. Not only were they stretching themselves thin, but they were trying to meet the high demand of putting out 4 movies a year. It took 4 consecutive flops for them to be like, holy shit, this isn't working. We got to restructure. And although we are getting the movies next year, it's going to happen after next year. I stand by that for sure. Mm-hmm. But the DC, they didn't get the hint at all. It took... all these flops happened, and no one under Hamada's boot decided, hey, we should turn the ship around. He just said, nah, fuck it until we sell. They sold, and now James Gunn gets to try his shit again in a month. So, you know, they hopefully with him, if he can learn anything from being at Marvel, working with Marvel, it's that when shit starts going sour, it's time to reevaluate and change direction. Mm-hmm. Hopefully he can do that. You know, because I am all for creatives getting their full visions and stuff. Hopefully he doesn't get handicapped at the knees. Like, best to him. I know it's not for me, but best to him and all the fans for his projects. That's the best thing that I can put for DC going forward. For the MCU, they're getting their shit together, and I have no doubt that all these articles are going to end up being like.
I mean, you do got Brave New World coming out.
That's I give you that one, but the rest of them
they still got a couple icebergs up ahead.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, the ship hasn't changed course directly. They're in the right direction now. Now they just got to get past the debris that they currently just got through passing through.
It's gonna be a hard thing. Mm-hmm. So let's get to the kind of like the ending part here. He's gonna talk about why people are tired.
Okay.
People feel exhausted by superhero movies. They're literally fatigued. It's something you hear in conversations with your friends, online, waiting in line at the movies, and in every interview with an actor. Paul Dano, who played the Riddler, had to talk about fatigue. Joseph Quinn, who's going to play the Human Torch, also talked about fatigue. Even Agatha's director had to address fatigue, saying the show could survive it because it wasn't a classic superhero story.
I'm not gonna watch it.
But this is not fatigue. They're talking about saturation, which is not the same thing. According to our good old friend the dictionary, fatigue means you're tired of something. In this case, of watching superhero-related projects. Saturation, on the other hand, means you've reached the maximum of what you can consume of a thing. In other words, when you just can't watch any more superhero movies and shows because you don't have the time for it. Saturation is real because each year there's more and more content. When I debunked the previous argument, I mentioned the number of theatrical releases made by Marvel, which remains the same as before. But after Endgame, the MCU started releasing shows in Disney+. With an average of 3 shows per year, that's literally double the content than before, or even more, because these shows have at least 6 episodes, so there's a lot more hours of content. To top it off, these shows aren't starring important characters. I loved Moon Knight and Loki, but they're not Marvel's top characters, like Spider-Man, the X-Men, or the Fantastic Four. So these shows can feel like filler leading up to the next big event, the one we actually want to watch. And more often than not, their quality is questionable. I'm looking at you, Echo. Also, DC is making its own shows. Plus there's Invincible, The Boys, the spin-offs, the animated Batman show, the Umbrella Academy.
It's too much!
It's normal to feel saturated because there's so much superhero content. If you don't want to be watching shows every single day, you might feel like you're falling behind. But the real problem is quality. James Gunn explained this much better than I can. In an interview with Rolling Stone, he said this: "I think there is such a thing as fatigue, but it doesn't have anything to do with superheroes. It has to do with the kind of stories that get to be told. And if you lose your eye on the ball, which is character, we love Superman, we love Batman, we love Iron Man, because they're these incredible characters that we have in our hearts. The key is therefore pushing these characters and personal stories to the forefront, instead of just thinking about them as tools to create good action scenes. If it becomes just a bunch of nonsense on screen, it gets really boring. But I get fatigued by most spectacle films, by the grind of not having an emotionally grounded story. It doesn't have anything to do with whether they're superhero movies or not. If you don't have a story at the base of it, just watching things bash each other. No matter how clever those bashing moments are, no matter how clever the designs and the VFX are, it just gets fatiguing. And I think that
I have a feeling this man is gonna like
rant a bit toward the end.
Yeah, no, I already know he rants a little bit, so I'm just gonna skip it to the next thing. But I do have a feeling like he's gonna glaze the fuck out of James Gunn's DC.
I'm pretty sure.
100%.
I'm pretty sure.
But he did make a little bit of points there, like we talked about a little bit earlier. You know, we got other shows like The Boys, Invincible, Umbrella Academy, Peacemaker. You got the Penguin. You got Agatha. You got fucking Moon Knight.
The whole Arrowverse had their own
CW shows.
Yeah, they had their own stuff going on
that are completely not connected to the main DC universe.
No. But they got to do their Crisis on Infinite Earths before the live action movies.
Superman and Lois is out right now.
Almost done with that one.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of that new Superman, The Adventures of Superman came out too.
Oof, yeah, that animated Batman one that came and went. Yeah,
yeah. So we have a lot of stuff that's coming out. Do I believe that people are tired of it? No, because, you know, The Boys as an example, right? Love season 1, 2, 3, but then 4 got a little rocky, right? We're not tired of the show. We're tired of them not letting go of characters. This is kind of like what happened with Star Wars and Ahsoka. Why didn't they let her go a long time ago? Who knows? It probably would have been a powerful moment for her to kind of end with the Clone Wars in a way. But, you know, they wanted to keep her alive. I mean, gave her own show. I mean, she's at the point where you're kind of like, man, why isn't she dead already? You know, how is she living so long?
Yeah.
So that's like, if somebody wants to watch something, they're gonna take the time to watch it.
Yeah.
Right. If you make something that's good, like I said, I think there at one point Marvel was literally banking $1 billion per movie. That means people were not missing out on anything. They didn't want to miss out. They weren't looking to miss out. They wanted to be there front and center. Did things start feeling like homework? Yes, because you had a lot of Marvel shows that came out underneath it. But then you have other stuff that are spinoffs, right? People are watching The Penguin. They're like, oh, you know, we don't have to watch The Batman, but if you want to, you know, The Penguin could be a good gateway into that, right? If you watch The Penguin first, see the bat signal by the end of the show or whatever, and then go into The Batman, you're like, holy shit.
This is before the Penguin.
Kind of like, a connectivity there. And I think that's another thing that people like that we haven't had, and is a reason why fatigue is real when it comes to superhero things, and maybe you can kind of come back at me with this one. No connectivity. Ain't nobody gonna want to watch something that doesn't have a payoff anymore. If you just want to, if it's a one and done, people will probably watch it, but they're gonna yearn for more. And if you don't get them more, they're just gonna be like, okay, this was a one and done. This is a great show. I'm done with it. And then, you know, they try to do a spin-off or they do whatever, blah, blah, blah. It's just not as good and people get tired of it. So
I think it depends in which the show or whatever is made. Because again, this is a case-by-case thing. So we'll just walk with me a bit. The MCU decided, let's do shows. So every show kind of felt like homework. What? Sam's the new Captain America? When did that happen? Oh, well, he gave him the shield in Endgame. Do you have to know who John Walker is? Yeah, go watch Captain Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Mm-hmm.
What's Wanda up to? Oh, you're telling me she died? Oh, well, why'd she die? Well, she was looking for the Darkhold. Well, what's the Darkhold? Go watch WandaVision for that. You want to see what Agatha's been doing since WandaVision? Go watch Agatha Harkness. She has her own show. So that's where it becomes homework.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you have to watch The Penguin to enjoy the Batman Part 2, unless Matt Reeves somewhere along the line says, yeah, go watch that, you know. But I always found it weird when, I'm with you in the same boat, I always found it weird when the creatives make a movie and then a spin-off and then another movie, and it's like, well, you don't even have to watch this. And it's like, well, okay, but no, you made it for a reason. There has to be a payoff here to go watch that. So some of it does become homework. But I think if you're going into shows like Superman and Lois and stuff, you know what you're getting into. This is just a one-off show that's about these characters like old TV used to be about.
I think Gen V kind of felt like that too.
Like homework?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like you had to go watch it.
Yeah, and then all that for them for those characters to show up twice.
Yeah, and then at the end of it to be like, well, you
go see Gen V season 2.
No, not even season 2. They said go watch The Boys season 4 if you want to know what happens with the vial and everything like that, or whatever. And then go watch Gen V season 2. Whenever
that's why they were trying to like boom, and then go watch Gen V again.
2 birds, 1 stone.
Yeah. So I mean, that's homework in and of itself, and I mean, I think when you have good shows, you're not looking for connectivity. You're looking for, obviously, for the show to go somewhere, have your characters be fulfilled by the end of it, and that's about it. Because although people did like the Netflix Marvel shows, people will still just go watch Daredevil. You know, they don't even have to watch Defenders. They'll just go watch Daredevil, go watch The Punisher, go watch Jessica Jones and stuff. And yeah, it's cool that they all meet up in Defenders, which I mean, I like that show for the one season that it got.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't looking for that in any of them before I started watching it. And then it came out, and that was like the first thing I watched.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I started backwards. I watched Defenders, and then you were like, go watch Daredevil. And I was like, all right, I'll watch Daredevil. And I ended up loving it, but I watched the payoff way before I watched the setup. So, I don't think people are looking for that kind of thing. And eventually, if you are, it just becomes homework. And I'm not doing homework. I haven't seen Agatha.
And you know that some people are okay with being like how you said, you watch the payoff first. Well, you know, it happens with Star Wars. People know what happens, but people are going to go back to see what led up to that. And, you know, it's still exciting and people are going to go back to watch it. And so, like I said, to combat all this, the studios decided to stoop to nostalgia. And that's what everything is. I mean, I think it is superhero fatigue, and obviously you can tell. And kind of like how he said too, like Avengers got to be like or like the Super Bowl and all that stuff now. And then you got the casual viewers that like us, like go back to watch the regular stuff.
Yeah.
But then people won't really show up and show out only unless it's gonna be like an ensemble or you're gonna see somebody that is gonna come back. And then another thing too, it's too soon to even put all those characters together that nobody really knows or cares about because you got Shang-Chi back in 2020.
You haven't seen them since. That's another MCU problem about their expansion. No sequels to any of these things.
No sequels, no connectivity.
Yeah, no. We haven't seen Shang-Chi. His rings were giving off a signal. Where the fuck did that go? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
apparently it was the Bengals, but they never said nothing about that.
Well, see, then how was I supposed to know that? No one's gonna watch Shang-Chi and then you'll be like, "Oh, you want to know what that's about? Go see Miss Marvel." Like, no,
yeah, basically that's what you had to do.
That contributes to another thing, which homework. Is James Gunn. Well, yeah, homework, but just to James Gunn's formula. I think people don't want to watch B-listers. I'm 100% believer in that.
I mean, people don't mind B-listers if the movie is good. That's what I'm saying. It's one of those things like if you don't have a good story or good actors, you better have some good spectacle. If you don't have good spectacle, right? If you don't got, you know, certain things, you got to make up where it lacks. And some of these movies have just been kind of flat just to be flat and have a couple flashy moments, but not really too much. And then you have dog shit movies that don't have flashy moments at all, like Aquaman 2. And it's just like, what the fuck just happened?
It's a lot of different factors because not only do I think people don't want to watch B-listers, but these B-listers are only there for the comic fans or stuff and not the casual viewer. So the ones that, these comic fans that are going to go see, that are going to watch a Moon Knight show or whatever, they're not thinking of, oh, Moon Knight. They are thinking of, well, this wasn't accurate to the comics and this wasn't accurate to the comics. Who the fuck is this chick? She's not in the comics. It's also the fans that are overly critical about these things, when they should just shut the fuck up and be glad that their B-lister got a show, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And, like, yeah, Loki and all that stuff aren't the stars of the MCU, but pretty good shows regardless.
You gotta also understand, too, I mean, Robert Downey Jr. wasn't really a household name until he did the Iron Man
the MCU got...
Chris Evans.
I think I did have this discussion along these lines, but not just, like, the actors, but... The whole Avengers team got the MCU PR that they needed, so now they're just the team. But it's like, no, they were never the team. It was always the X-Men, and it was about Spider-Man and the Justice League.
Yeah.
So I mean, they got the PR that they needed to boost them, and good for them. But to rewind almost 12, 13 years ago now, that first Iron Man movie flops. That would have been such a one-off if you think about it. Yeah. It would have been fucking insane.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean. And here we are now where we just can't escape Marvel at all.
Now it's about, oh, I'm tired of this, I'm tired of that, and it's like, I don't feel tired about any of it. I get tired when movies become a repetition of failure. That's where my fatigue comes from. It's not superhero movies.
Well, that's why I think Marvel. Well, yeah, superhero movies have been failure after failure. If you go to Marvel, you can't watch anything because it's bad. You go to DC, you can't watch anything because it's bad. I mean, you try to go to another show, yeah, they're good. They feel you for a little bit, but then you get stale like The Boys, which season 4, let's be honest, it was a stinker. Season 2 of Invincible, let's be honest, it wasn't as good as the first season. I'll just be real. Like, I watched the first one, I was in awe. I still go back and be like, holy shit, this was crazy. Then season 2 kind of got a little
Season 2 was such a stepping stone for season 3.
Yeah, so hopefully it changes up. So I mean, it just they go and they go and they go until they get stale. The thing is that when are these superheroes? It's kind of like, you know, not a superhero movie, but John Wick. By the fourth one, we were tired.
I wasn't tired.
I was tired.
You were tired.
I was tired, and you're just like, well, when is he gonna die?
Never. No, I was kidding. He did.
Spoiler alert.
He did.
But yeah, so it's like, you know, once the heroes are just too invincible, and then it's just like, okay, what kind of stories can we tell with them too? And just on recycle, identity crisis, juggling home and their regular lives.
Yeah.
And then what? That's it. And then love life, and that's it. That's basically the three pits that we always hit every single time. And it's like, well, damn, where's the, you know, then we get movies like, I'm going to be that guy. You get movies like Man of Steel and BVS that deal with morality and good and evil and what you should and you shouldn't do. And holy shit, you know, people actually think beyond themselves onto, you know, thinking, you know, you get movies like Black Panther where it's like, oh, you can kind of agree with him a little bit. You're on his side. And then you're just like, well, damn, should you be on his side? He's making a little too much sense, though, you know? Like, you get movies like that play with you and, you know, actually give you a thought-provoking, you know, how do you say, a thought-provoking, like... idea to make you feel like, damn, I'm not just here sitting here watching shit like Kong versus Godzilla, where you're, or not, no, the New Empire, the second one, where it's just like tooth and punching and, you know, just dumb shit happening on screen. Yeah. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah. All these movies have a place in cinema. It just, that's the grand thing about cinema. It's just whatever your cup of tea is. You know what I mean? Like, someone who loves Marvel movies and comic book movies and stuff is not gonna like, a noir film from 1980 something. Like, it's crazy to think about that when you really put it into perspective. But
I mean, you might.
Some might, yeah. Someone might.
You might. I mean, if you watch like Logan Noir, you want to go a little bit deeper.
Yeah, I mean, and that leaves into some subgenres and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. But he's almost wrapping up here. Okay. We'll get into it till we can finish it up. Okay. You might be a little offended because he is gonna go into a little bit of a glazing here for you. So.
Okay.
What we're suffering is saturation due to mediocre projects. Think about this. If the genre were in decline and about to take its last breath, why did James Gunn agree to be the president of a superhero movie studio? He's an amazing director who can work for any studio he wants, but he chose to join DC, which has been struggling badly, to run a cinematic universe for the next 10 years, at least. If the genre were dying, Gunn wouldn't have accepted this offer. He would have gone on to make other projects that would earn him more money and worldwide recognition.
That does make sense.
But wait.
That's not true.
Take it out your fucking mouth, man. Damn. Breathe. Come up for air. Oh, my God, dude. Why you take on the thing? Because he was jobless, fool. That's why. That's why. Why do you want the job? Because you're hiring. Duh. What the fuck?
Oh, George, you gotta think he got some kind of passion for it, bro. He's not gonna just take on this and the ridicule of Mercury and shit like that on Twitter for no reason, bro.
Yes, he is.
He's not gonna just do it just because of that. I do think it's because of ego, though. I don't think it's because of. I don't think.
Good director, my man. He's done 3 movies. 4.
Slither.
4 and Peacemaker. Actually, I don't even think he directed all of them in Peacemaker.
Now, let's be honest. Suicide Squad wasn't like the banger that like everybody.
No, yeah, apparently it is. People don't know how to take that movie out their mouth either. It's insane shit, dude. That movie was. I mean, fuck. Maybe I'm a little too biased, but I've only seen that movie once.
It's not that. I mean, don't get me wrong. I watched it a couple times. I enjoy it here and there, but I don't think it reminds you of the shit that he does, the fucking Guardians movies. It's a one-trick pony. If you want to see the Guardians in DC, the Suicide Squad.
Go watch Creature Commandos, also the Suicide Squad.
I mean, yes, you can kind of see that too, because it's like, obviously it's under Waller, so she's going to run it the same kind of way and all that stuff. But at the same time, it's kind of like, don't you think it's kind of creatively bankrupt a little bit? Like, you're doing the same thing.
Oh, man, I love this dude so much. I'm not going to watch him make a team of 5 ragtime motherfuckers that would never have worked together before in their lives become one family. How many times can you see it? You followed one for 3 movies.
Oh, but don't forget the pet companion that also has a personality and helps you out whenever you need him to.
I don't even know, dude. Like, and I don't even, I know I sound like a fucking hater. I don't give a damn, but like, that was a lot of glazing he was doing. That was crazy. I mean, do I personally believe that James Gunn could do it in a climate like this?
Oh, let me tell you my reasoning though. I think it's ego, because I think when he got fired from Disney and got rehired to finish it up, I think he was like, well, this is my opportunity to show him like, nah, you fucked up, and he wants to make a successul DC universe and kind of shove it up to Kevin Feige.
Well, yeah, it's a little weird. I think it's crazy as fuck that he was out long enough to write, direct, just make a movie for DC. Like it was almost like,
and also start planning a cinematic universe.
Planning. He was able to fire people.
He literally was unemployed for like 3 months, and this man grinded. I mean, maybe he got a good work ethic. I don't know.
Like working during the sex strike.
Why you do that?
Because it's true. Well, I mean, okay. So if you really take the climate of things, which I don't think is gonna last forever.
So superhero genre, is it on a decline?
No,
it's not on a decline.
I think every movie has a circumstance for the reason why it did so badly.
It is so much on a decline. It's taking a stop for fucking heart palpitations, bro. Like, it's literally like you're flop. No Way Home. Flop. Flatline. Flop. Deadpool Wolverine.
It's like Venom 3. Those count. These are superhero movies. They count.
Anti-hero. No, just
it's
kidding.
the same thing.
Yeah, Venom is doing good for, I mean, what it is, but it's not doing no fucking Black Panther numbers. It's not gonna hit no 800 mil. It's barely at like 4.
Yeah, well,
it's doing Black Adam numbers, and you know what's funny? It's doing Black Adam numbers, and everybody's sucking it off on the tabloids, talking about, oh yeah, it's doing so good. Black Adam did those numbers.
Venom 3 had a lesser budget though.
Black Adam was its first movie and made 400 mil.
That was The Rock fatigue.
No, that was
Red 1 is also not doing well because of The Rock fatigue.
Well, I mean, you tell people that you fucking piss in bottles and a fucking asshole.
He was on the press run. You're gonna do anything like, oh well, am I gonna see that in this movie? I want to go check it out now. Like, I would say that
you see him pissing in a bottle in one scene.
That'd be fucking insane. Let's go, Chris. I mean, whatever the fuck your name is.
I do think it's on a decline, and I do think that they're trying their hardest to keep it alive.
Okay,
but
well, I don't
nostalgia is not a good way because you're beating a dead horse.
I don't think it's on a decline, but I do think Phase 4 and their structure of these plans did kind of fuck them up. So this whole reevaluation, I have faith,
but not just Phase 4 though. Like, I know he's reducing it just to MCU. I'm talking about the superhero genre though. Like, you got Marvel, the fucking ring. Like, you can bleed when the head honcho bleeds, and Marvel started leaking. When you see DC leaking over there, you're just like,
still,
it's fucking yeah, bro. Like, get up off the ground, bro. You see Marvel do it, and you're just like, fuck. And then you start seeing the fucking shifts in all the cracks. I mean, Venom 2 didn't do too well. Venom 3, because I think people want to see what, the conclusion. People just want to, finish it up or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, Black Adam did the kind of like the same numbers and shit like that. And that was its first movie, right? That's the first movie out the gate. But that one was considered a flop. And yeah, it had like a $2 million budget, but Venom had like 180. So, I mean, less money for sure. But, I mean, you still like having these little briefs, like pockets of success because of nostalgia, and I'm gonna keep saying it because of nostalgia.
I don't blame nostalgia.
I know but you're not refuting anything otherwise, because it's like, if it's not a nostalgic movie, people aren't going out to watch it.
Well, you didn't know. No one knew that like Toby and Andrew were gonna be in.
Oh no, people knew, bro. That shit was like the talk of the
town. They were speculating, but no one knew.
No, people knew.
No one knew.
People knew.
No one knew.
It was the talk of the town.
No, it wasn't.
When he went on Jimmy Kimmel, and Jimmy Kimmel was like, "Are you in the new Spider-Man movie?" and Andrew Garfield was like, "No." We knew.
No one knew.
And then people watch Jimmy Kimmel for whatever reason.
He's not even my favorite Jimmy.
What?
I like Jimmy Fallon.
Oh.
What were you thinking?
What you said? I don't know. I didn't say it. You said it. That's your favorite what? No.
But I mean, no one knew that, and I still think, I mean, Wakanda Forever did really well. Doctor Strange did pretty good. I don't know. You do get pockets of success. I will call them that. We haven't seen a good run from Marvel since before COVID. But again, I mean, he even COVID was such a strange thing because you can make excuses for half of these projects. But I mean, if they also got theater releases, you could have showed up and showed out if you really cared for these characters.
Yeah, FNAF.
Like, I saw Eternals in theaters.
Me too.
I didn't see the Suicide Squad in theaters. That one didn't get my money. I don't really give a fuck.
Because you saw James Gunn Presents, you fucking hater.
Nah, man, it was just no.
Why don't you be like Mr. Headcanon over here?
Not coming up for air. Hello.
Hello. It turned into a fucking glazed donut.
Yeah, like
I don't know.
I don't agree that it's on a
There
decline.
was at one point, you know how much I know it's on a decline? Because there was at one point you were just like refusing to want to watch some.
I think next year is going to be the test. That's where the lineup is. I think that's going to be the test on if it's really going down or not.
Saturation, though, where this guy's talking about. See, 2023, I will say that one was oversaturated as fuck. Obviously, you had a bunch of movies that got pushed back.
Yeah, DC's final steps, and you had the MCU's first installments.
This year, it wasn't so bad. This year, it wasn't so bad, and that's why I think the tabloids don't have a lot of leverage to be like, hey, there's still fatigue going on, because there was like hit and miss, but it was like Marvel did really good when they, on both ends, Venom and Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah.
But Madam Web didn't do too well. And then DC didn't do too well, but you're just like, some people are like, well, damn, what the fuck, Todd Phillips, how do you let me down? And then other people are like, well, DC's been dead for forever, so who gives a shit? Like, it was bound to happen.
Yeah.
Next year's we're gonna get that saturation again, and it's gonna kind of show where people's minds are at, but at the same time, you're gonna have a lot to. It's gonna be like a fucking bloodbath again next year. Let's finish up this video. We're almost there.
Okay.
If fatigue doesn't exist, why is everyone talking about it? There are two explanations for that. The first one is that some of these outlets are trying to boycott the superhero genre with these kinds of articles, hoping the genre will disappear and be replaced by a new genre they actually like, or that other kinds of movies, which are now overlooked, get more attention. That's why they've been complaining since the mid-2000s, when Spider-Man, the X-Men, and Nolan's Batman started dominating the box office and movie discussions. They saw the superhero wave coming and tried to stop it, unsuccessfully.
Justice.
The second explanation is that superheroes are...
Let's go over that first one first.
I don't agree with that.
Tabloids trying to stop it? No. Why would you want to stop good headlines? Why would you want to stop good money rolling in? Movie does good. You're able to make some headlines. You're able to go. Now, bad press does sell.
Yeah, I was about to say that. I don't agree, but to be on the opposite side of that coin, bad publicity does sell. You hear the words MCU, fatigue or whatever, you're gonna click on that motherfucker immediately. It's what we did. We saw Variety. We were on that whole boat. So we saw those headlines and stuff. But I don't agree with the fact that, because at one point they were in their pockets. I firmly believe that there was a good amount of point where it was nothing but like, oh, this Marvel movie success.
Marvel did no wrong.
Can do no wrong. The heights that the MCU can go, like. I'm sure that those are positive articles that were out there. Whether Marvel paid for them or not is completely up in the air. That's my own little theory. Same thing with Rotten Tomatoes. But I think that they took these instances, very, very rare instance of, consecutive flops and stuff, and then that's where they started to just push it out because, yeah, it was selling. Everyone was questioning it. Like, this is the fourth Marvel movie. Why is it so bad? Why is it doing so bad? And then Variety and all that stuff were like, let's just clock it real quick and see what people say. And then it got up a lot of conversation. I mean, we're still talking about it. So, like, he has a point to that extent, but I don't agree that the tabloids have been attacking the superhero genre since 2003. That's insane.
Well, I mean, yeah. Well, you gotta understand that the early 2000s was a rough patch for superhero genre. They were not coming out good. That's was like, the superhero genre back then could be kind of chalked up to what the video game adaptations were. They weren't really doing too hot. You had successes like Blade and obviously X-Men, but then you roll around to X-Men The Last Stand, and then Batman Begins. People liked it, but it wasn't like the hype that The Dark Knight turned out to be. You know what I mean? It was just like, yeah, Batman, cool. We get Batman again. Christian Bale, cool, yeah. And then Dark Knight happened, and you're like, holy fuck. We didn't even know we can get this kind of movie out of a superhero genre. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I don't think that they were trying to attack it for that long. Do I think now people feel like Marvel's do the tabloids feel like Marvel's a punching bag? Fuck yeah.
Yeah, because blood in the water.
Yeah. Our episodes do good when we talk about Marvel, so it is what it is. But it is what it is.
Saturated.
Right. Listen to his second explanation.
Still trending, and talking trash about the genre makes money. Even though phases 4 and 5 made less money than phase 3, the MCU is still the most successful franchise in movie history, so any news about Marvel is trending news. Ask yourself this: when was everybody talking about Scorsese? When Killers of the Flower Moon came out, or when he spoke out against Marvel? Which article gained the most clicks? The one where Deadline made an in-depth analysis of blockbuster earnings, or the one where Variety trashed Marvel, taking advantage of the fact that Jonathan Majors had been fired? What was...
Yeah, so he's using a lot of these examples, right? And we just talked about
circumstantial.
Bad publicity is good publicity. No, what is it? Bad publicity is still good publicity. Any publicity is still good publicity. So it doesn't even really necessarily matter that that James Cameron is gonna put out a fucking movie that What it doesn't matter. Avatar is completely different with James Cameron because that's in its own thing. It's not considered superhero. If you think about it.
Sci-fi.
He's gonna do his own thing. It's not like how he says overly saturated, so people are gonna go tune in to see what happens.
Yeah.
The superhero genre. If you don't like Marvel, guess where you're gonna go? To DC. If you don't like DC, where are you gonna go? Amazon Prime. You got a couple superhero shows. You don't like that? You're gonna go somewhere else. There's so much things that you can pick from. Marvel's just not the only place that you can go. So I think a lot of people are also sharpening their tastes. This is something that, I kind of joke with you a lot, is like, if it doesn't have boom bang pow, you're not gonna fucking watch it. But when it comes to the superhero genre, people don't just want boom bang pow. I mean, your favorite movies are the Zack Snyder trilogy, from DC over there. Why is that? Because it's a little more thought provoking. You have a little bit more stakes behind it. It feels hefty. I know you can have your own opinion on how it's made and who made it or whatever, but you can't deny that
the contents of which is inside of it.
Yeah, it does do good. But you have Marvel that is just like, okay, we'll give you this character, and how they said it kind of reduces it to a couple of action figures on the screen, like.
Godzilla.
In a way, it kind of reminds you of the kids that watch other kids play with toys on YouTube. That's how I feel like when the new Empire came out. Right? It's just like, oh, somebody's playing with Godzilla and Kong and just making them go.
Yeah. All right, man. Damn.
Yeah.
Off the top rope, like. Yeah. Well, as far as like his whole explanation about oversaturation is probably the best way to put it, because then that affects how you put out movies and how things are made and all that stuff. And the publicity part, it's true. I mean, Killers of the Flower Moon is, if you're watching these things like us and you're seeing these trailers and you're a fan of movies in general, you're gonna see these things, you're gonna be like, holy shit, Martin Scorsese's still making movies? That's fucking cool.
Holy shit.
But if you're one of those people that are like, oh, what, my superhero movies are the cream of the crop, like what does Scorsese know about making a movie? He's never even won an Oscar. Well, then it's like, has any superhero movie won an Oscar? No, but because they have about a gajillion movies and he only has like what, 8? Yeah. like it's like that's the whole.
I think it goes back to that whole conveyor belt movies where it's like, if you're at Marvel, you have a certain quota that you have to meet.
Yeah.
If you're Martin Scorsese,
you make whatever movie you want when you want,
and you gonna fucking eat it if you want it.
Exactly.
Right? And then same thing with James Cameron and all that stuff. That's why you don't hear the likes of them filming for Marvel. I don't know what happened with Sam Raimi. I don't know what kind of bag they gave him, but
he's going back to horror movies though.
And he's been in the superhero genre before too, so it's not a big deal. But yeah.
But that's why these directors, the ones that quote unquote make real cinema, they're gonna look down on the Marvel movies because not only are they dominating their shit, but at the same time, they know that it's also gonna generate people to go see them.
I like to see it as like it's like when you have two people playing the video game, right? And they're going at it with each other. And then one of them just keeps spamming that one move that you can't fucking combat, and they just keep wrecking up points and money and all this and that, and you're just like, what the fuck, bro?
Yeah.
Like fight fair, and they're just like, I am.
Yeah. Square.
And that's basically Marvel. That's what Marvel was doing to Martin Scorsese and James Cameron. They're over here putting out one by one, fighting fair, putting their whole soul into these films like they're supposed to.
Yeah.
While Marvel is making these soulless films that are, quick, fast, and they're going to bang and they're going to make some money because why? Somebody's going to want to see Captain Marvel. Somebody's going to want to see Shang-Chi.
Yeah, so it's, in their minds, they have the right to be a little, like, hateful and jealous and stuff, but it's not, I guess it's not because that they think, like, they do think that they're better, obviously, because it's one man versus a whole fucking factory, but it's the craft. If Martin Scorsese is doing shit by hand and no one is telling him how to do the things, he's just doing it. If you have X, Y, and Z producers telling you, hey, don't put that in there, put this, Kevin said put this because it's a cameo for the next movie, like, it's how it's one studio making a movie and one guy making a movie.
It's the same thing that happened with what's his name? The dude that was supposed to make Ant-Man in the first place.
Yeah.
And he backed out because,
they were telling him how to do shit.
Yeah, they want to put him in a box. And he was like, nah, I'm leaving. Not going to do that.
And then they stole his ideas.
Scott Derrickson, he made the first Doctor Strange. He tried to make a second one. I think there was rumors that Nightmare was supposed to be in that one. And Marvel told him, no, you got to do it this way. And he said, well, we don't see eye to eye, and I'm not going to make this film for you. And he walked away.
Yeah,
so it's like obviously, these guys are probably like, they already see the directors that they're hiring, and they're just like, these guys are just factory workers. Yeah. They're not even actual directors, just being told what to do, and that's basically it.
Yeah. So I mean, they know what they're talking about when making movies, that they can talk their shit. And it's, I mean, to me, it's more like, yeah, talk your shit, bro, because I know whatever movie they're pumping out next will take over probably half of the MCU's catalog when you really think about it.
Yep. So here we are, right? We're at the end of the video. We already finished it up.
Yeah.
There's still some stuff that I kind of skipped over. So if you guys, like I said, if you guys want to check out his whole video, Mr. Headcanon on YouTube, go check it all out. He does make a couple more points, but I just kind of hit the more harder points.
Okay.
Josh, we're heading into 2025 soon.
Okay.
I mean, years are flying by, right?
Yeah.
We're going to be giving out our top 10 list, best movies of 2024, worst movies, right? One thing that I am not looking forward to in 2025 is superhero fatigue. Do you think that this is something that's going to carry over? I mean, you've already said that you don't think that is true. Did I kind of change your mind being the guy on the other side of the aisle? Or are you on Mr. Headcanon's side? And if you are, then I assume that you like James Gunn just like him.
What the fuck?
That's right, trap.
No.
I pull out my trap card.
What do you know about Yu-Gi-Oh, bro? No, you don't know shit about Yu-Gi-Oh.
You don't know me.
I pull out deck.
I pull out my whole fucking...
I'll be like, oh shit. But I mean, you gave me stuff to think about. There is some doubt. I'm not saying that Marvel's imperfect record hasn't, stained, their reputation, because it obviously has. All these articles have literally left a decent sized stab wound in the MCU's back. But I guess I'm a bit optimistic, because I mean, maybe it's a little bit of bias because I did grow up with these movies too. But I do think that they can come out of this rut. And yes, I know you did bring up Captain America. I'm not saying every movie next year is going to bang, but I think almost every movie next year is going to do good in its own right.
So, I mean, we're going to have like a few hit and miss then, right? Is that what you're basically saying?
Yeah.
We're going to probably have a couple hit and miss movies?
Yes. Not all of them are going to hit, but I think the ones that are going to bang will probably bang the hardest. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Because we don't have a lot next year. Got Thunderbolts, right? Superman, Fantastic Four. We got Captain America, Brave New World. Spider-Verse, right? Is that one coming out?
No, we got that one.
2026, yeah. We got Kraven still coming out this year, too. So
which I still want to go see.
I think that's basically it that we have. And then we also have the Creature Commandos coming out. And I think we have Boys Season 5 coming out next year as well. So we have a few things coming out next year.
Invincible.
Like I said, I don't think that the genre is dead. I do think it's on a decline.
Okay.
I do think that it is going away like the Westerns and the noirs. I just do believe that it is taking a little bit longer because of social media. I think a lot of people do care about these films, but I think the studios are going the wrong way about it still. Getting focus groups that are entirely fanboys, putting in movies like literally whole Reddit posts and shit like that. Like they're over here looking on the internet and they're like, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Let's do that. James Gunn. We have, there's a lot of things that I think social media is kind of playing its part in the whole destruction, because in their scramble to try to keep it alive, they're pulling out all the stops. They're like, fucking give me give me the fanboys. They know what they like, and then they're like, no. Not everybody likes what the fanboys like. The general audience don't like that. What did they like? Oh yeah, nostalgia. Bring the nostalgia in. Let's bring that in, and then they're gonna. Next thing you know, they're gonna be like, nostalgia's not working. What else can we do?
How comic accurate can we get? Let's give Superman trunks, everybody.
Boom. There you go. See, boom. You know what's funny too? I thinking about it. I looked at Superman's suit today, and I saw a Peacemaker suit. They look the same, like the same material. I don't know if you.
Oh, like rubber.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen that, but yeah, I that was just a little thing.
I saw a design of what his new helmet's gonna look like.
That one actually looks kind of hard. I ain't gonna lie.
I don't know. I need a better picture of it. I only saw was like
in like real life. Yeah, see how it looks on John Cena.
Yeah, basically.
But yeah, I think that's what's going on. I think it's on a decline. I think superhero fatigue does exist. Okay. I'm against headcanon on this one. I do believe it exists. Do I want it to exist? No. Do I want it to stop? Kind of, because I want to be able to watch some superhero movies.
Yeah.
I do believe a lot of factors play into it. It is bad movies, yes, mid movies. I don't think that's the only spot where it stops. Spectacle wise, not every single movie needs to have a third act fucking mega buster in there. You know what I mean? There was a lot of times where things did it naturally, like
there's just bad guy versus good guy.
Yeah,
but not without the whole bells and whistles.
Exactly. Like you have like Black Widow having this big ass CGI fight when it's supposed to be like assassins and stuff. And she's over here flying through the sky, which would be cool if it was like once in a while, but in the beginning of the movie you've seen her like hit a bunch of shit on the way down,
all
not
the same
die.
Shit, yeah.
So it don't matter. You got other movies like, you know, this is kind of like a bad example, but also a really good example, but like Transformers 2 Revenge of the Fallen. I know a lot of people don't like it because it was during the SAG strike and it really came out not as good as the other ones, but the beginning having that little climax with Optimus dying and then towards the end building up to that mega monster that attaches all together and you have that big final battle. It actually built up to a final battle where like some of these movies just don't feel like they need to go that route. Like it just feels like they're doing that just because. So
like the Batman.
Like why even fight a bunch of Redditors on the internet? Who knows? Batman is just crazy.
Basically, the flood had already happened. I mean, there was no point in fighting anybody. At that point, you focus on rescue.
But we let the penguin run wild for 8 episodes.
I hear is also a problem, but we're not here to dive into that.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that I mean.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I didn't like put in any optimism either.
No, I don't even think headcanon did either.
Okay.
I think that whole section of glazing.
I think we just got to get Kevin in. Yeah, a little bit, because it was all like he's all sounded kind of fair, and then it was like James Gunn.
You're like, oh my god, it's getting muffled in the noise now.
Yeah, take it out your mouth, man. Damn.
So yeah, you are on the side that you hope it doesn't exist, and we're gonna see a big turnaround. We kind of seen it this year. Mm-hmm. I mean, they didn't have a lot of projects to kind of base it off of like we did in 2023, but 2024 will. We're gonna have a few movies coming out. We're gonna have to look into that. But yeah, question is for y'all now. Let us know what you guys think. Do you think superhero fatigue exists? Do you think it's gonna travel all the way into 2025? Do you disagree? Do you think you agree with headcanon over Mr. Headcanon Glazer over there? Do you think that superhero fatigue does not exist and we're just making shit, or I'm making shit up? I know Josh is on the side of not really being there, and I know you have like some optimism over there, but I'm here to crush that shit.
Goddamn.
Like a fucking can.
Excuse me.
But let us know what you guys think, and let us know what kind of superhero movies you guys are looking forward to. I know I'm excited for Brave New World.
Yeah.
I'm excited for the review we're gonna do on that one because I know I'm gonna fucking I'm gonna bite it and I'm not letting go.
Yeah.
You're gonna be like, let it go already. He's dead. Mm-hmm. He's dead.
I'm looking forward to that one just because I want to see, I guess, what it all ended up coming out.
I kind of want to see Harrison Ford as the Hulk. I think that's like
the thing I want to see. That's the big draw.
Yeah.
It looks kind of good, man.
And knowing that he lights up on fire, that was pretty cool. Seeing it in the trailer. So I'm kind of there's a couple of, like I said, tiny glimpses that make it seem worthwhile, but then then it gets squandered. But let us know what you guys think. We're not going to hold you guys for any longer. We hope that you have a good Thanksgiving. Don't trample people during Black Friday. And we have some more episodes lined up for you guys, so make sure you hit the notification, subscribe, and we'll talk to you guys on the next one.
Talk to you guys later.